And that, of course, I would like to suggest that Dr. Clegg answer this question. What were some major changes in the educational landscape, so to speak, when we look at the earth sciences?
Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, well, I've seen these changes. I started my career, my education basically 60 years ago, and it was a different world, educationally and in every other way you can imagine. I did my thesis work before there was an internet. I kind of have seen these really strong, important changes in education that relate to the way the world is changing. The world is totally transforming, and education transforms with it. So back when I was doing my undergraduate work, for example, geology was geology. It was in a silo. You didn't have the kind of multidisciplinary aspects of geology. You became a petroleum geologist, or you became a engineering geologist, perhaps, but there was very little kind of interplay between classic geology and other disciplines such as chemistry, biology. And that's all changed. The kind of the landscape has changed because now we have orders of magnitude more scientists than we did back when I started my education. It's just a larger community. There are tens of thousands of geologists in China, for example, which wasn't the case 60 years ago. We're a global community. The developments, the technological developments, and particularly the internet and the instantaneous acquisition of knowledge have transformed education. I think we have lost a little bit in that as geologists, at least, probably geographers as well, in that when I was a student, we had lots of exposure to the real earth, tangible earth, getting out and doing field trips, one-on-one relationships with faculty. And I think we've lost a little bit of that. It's hard for universities now to even mount field schools, much less give students other opportunities for real-world learning. So we're struggling a bit with that, I think. But on the other hand, we get together in meetings, more than we ever have in the past. There's opportunities for provided by organizations that have grown, like GSA and IUGS, that provide opportunities for young people to get involved. So there are positives in all this. It's just that I think, we're caught up in this maelstrom of change that more broadly impacts all of us in every way. And education is one thing that's kind of undergoing this radical change over time, driven by technology and driven by new technological developments and driven by issues that have emerged. The climate change, sustainability issues, they weren't there when I was an undergraduate student so long ago. Nobody thought of climate change as an issue, and now it drives a lot of what we do, and we should be jumping on board on that because we have a lot to offer.
Would anybody like to pitch in their ideas? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I think, just adding to that, it's also now that the motivation of the students, has changed through all this landscape of climate change. And there was a recent study, I think it was in 2021 in Nature Communications, that was showing, what it was that was motivating students to undertake geoscience. And I don't know if I can say I'm that old, but in my time, it was the attraction to the outdoors that was a real pull towards a geoscience career. That's why I really enjoyed it. That's what I love doing, like combining science with kind of this physical outdoor environment that I get to be in and this natural laboratory. But this study showed that the major factor, and they looked across a range of diversity indexes of who was filling in this survey. And the major reasoning in our motivation was that it was people helping people and society and helping the environment. And they also did ask the question about work environment. So how much was it that it was working outdoors? And that was really low down the ranks. So I think it's also about understanding now what is, in this changing environment we're living in with these pressing issues of global challenges of climate change, it's that students are also motivated. They want to make a difference to that. And so we also have to kind of, I guess it feeds on to maybe what we're going to talk about later, this kind of repackaging and rebranding of how we sell the earth sciences as an attractive career.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. I loved what you said. And as a person who has been recently very up to date with what types of programs universities offer their undergraduate students, what I noticed was absolutely astonishing, and namely some of the older aspects of geosciences, they were completely disregarded. Everything was being lumped in together with environmental studies programs. There was no longer this specific rigorous, mineralogy, petrology kind of study. And I'm not saying this is necessarily good or bad. I'm going to let the experts talk, but this is definitely a change that even I, with a non-expert eye, I could definitely see. And I think that might tie into what Mr. Ian was saying previously, that to avoid this kind of negative packaging on your major, people would rather go low risk and label it environmental studies as opposed to geosciences, which are perhaps more negatively associated with other aspects of the world today. But I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going